I have your favorite new grain-free recipe. Grain-free flatbread. 2 ways. I'll tell you about the 2 ways later. Let's get started. This is a terrific flatbread recipe, and I'm using some new ingredients for you today, so let me walk you through these. I have a 1/2 cup of amaranth flour. If you're not familiar with amaranth, I want you to go look in the archives on glutenfreegg.com. Check out my article on amaranth. I tell you all about it, but I want to show you here. I have a jar of amaranth. These are little seeds, very tiny. I'll pour some out for you. You see how small those are? And I've already showed you how to cook these and how to pop these to put on your morning oatmeal. Very healthy, complete protein. And this is what the package looks like. This is what I use. If you can't find amaranth flour, use this and grind it in your food processor. It will be terrific. Just make sure you get it really fine so it's not gritty. And I run mine through a very fine mesh sieve after I grind it, just to make sure there aren't any larger bits in there. This is another new one I haven't used before, a 1/2 cup of instant potato flakes. These are gluten-free. There are several brands out there that are. So you go ahead and look at the side of the box. Make sure you get the gluten-free ones. I have a 1/2 cup of tapioca flour. And I have 3/4 of a cup of potato starch, not potato flour. Don't use that. Use potato starch. I'll try to get all that out. A couple tablespoons of sugar, and you'll need this either way. Just trust me on the sugar. And it does need to be granulated. You could sub coconut sugar though. A 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we are going to use 2.5 teaspoons of yeast. I'm using Fleischmann's. You can use Red Star. It's gluten-free too, and that seems to be the most popular. This one is gluten-free though, Fleischmann's, if this is the one you can find. So let's take 2.5 teaspoons. And that sounds like a lot, but we need it because we're going grain-free here, so we want to make sure we get some great leavening. Now I'm going to reach over, I'm whisking these just to make sure we don't have any lumps in our flours here. I'm going to reach over and turn my burner on. I have 1/2 cup of coconut milk. This is just regular coconut milk. I'm using the So Delicious brand. You can find Silk makes a coconut milk. I prefer So Delicious. You could use any non-dairy milk there. I haven't tried this recipe with dairy, but I'm sure you probably could do that. Now we've got our dry ingredients ready. We're going to let our milk heat, and then we've got a few more ingredients to add, and I'll show you what we do next. Alright, our coconut milk, a 1/2 cup, is warm. I use my finger to test this. It's quite warm, but not too hot to put my finger in. 105 to 110 max on the heat on this if you want to use your thermometer. I used to. I've made this quite a few times, and once you start doing this, you'll get a feel for it. So I'm going to put this in. Let me grab a spoon here and give this just a quick little stir. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oil. I've got canola. You use olive oil, whatever you like. And I've got 2 eggs, very important. These are room temperature. I've had them out at room temperature for about half an hour. Very important. While I mix this, I want to tell you why. When you have eggs that are used as a binder, you can use them cold if you need to. But when you're wanting eggs to be a binder and a leavener, which we do in here, which means they will make a bread rise or a baked good rise, we want them room temperature. You get more volume out of your eggs that way when they're warm. If you forgot to take your eggs out half an hour before you mix this recipe up, do not worry. You can put those in some warm water and let them sit for a few minutes, and they'll feel warm to the touch and they'll be ready to use. Our dough's really sticky. We want to leave this here. I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap and let it rise for about 30 minutes. Then we'll come back and I'll show you how to form our dough for our flatbread. Alright, our dough is ready. It's been 30 minutes. And you don't want to let it go too long because it can over-rise, and so you'll lose the impact of the yeast there. So you kind of see it kind of pushes down there, a little spongy, and it's still pretty sticky. Don't worry about that. I know you're not used to yeast dough, bread dough, that's going to be sticky, but it's okay. Now, let me show you a couple things. So I have tapioca flour here, tapioca starch. You could use potato if you like. I really like to use the tapioca. It's a little lighter to me. I'm going to put some here on my wax paper. Little trick here. See that spot? Put a little water or oil or some liquid underneath your wax paper. Keeps it from sliding around too much. Now, a little of this on your hands is fine too. I have a 1 ounce or 1/8 cup scoop here, and what I like to do, you can shape these with a small cookie scoop or a meatball scoop, whatever you like. I like to go in and put a little tapioca inside this, and then we're just going to take this right in the dough. You don't need to stir this or anything, and just make little 1 ounce size dough balls, and that's all you need to do. So we'll get all of these done. It works best if you just make all the little portions of dough first. Put those to the side, and then when we come back, I'll show you how to pat these out and cook them up. We are back. Take a look at our little bundles of dough here for our flatbread. They look great, and they're just still rising. That is a beautiful grain-free bread. For a yeast bread. Now, I've got a little canola oil. I have a pretty warm pan, medium-high heat here. I just turned it down a bit. So, I want to put just a touch of oil. You can spray your pan, and you can use any oil you like. I just want a little bit of oil, not too much. Kind of roll it around here. And we're going to put these little bundles of dough. We're going to flatten these out. See how that looks? And don't worry about the tapioca. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to turn my heat up just a little. You have to test these on your first one. You don't want the pan too hot. I'd rather you have it not quite warm enough. And so the first couple, you get to eat those. Those are your trial flatbreads to test your pan. And so we'll put 3 in. Maybe that won't be too crowded. You can put 2 or 3. And so we're going to let these go for 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'll show you how they look when we flip them over. Come back. I wish you could smell these. I always say that. They smell so good. So have a look. See how they puffed up? Now don't you put your hand in the pan there like I do. Take a little oil. I've gone to the brush. Why don't you just put some oil in a little dish and get your pastry brush out? And do that too, because it'll just work out better for you. Now, you know I crowded them a little, but we're going to flip these over. And they've gotten a little dark, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. You won't believe what we were doing here. So while these cook on this other side, let me show you real quick. I told you you could do these sweet or you could do them savory. If you want them savory, why don't you go ahead and take a teaspoon of Italian herbs or herbe de Provence or caraway seeds, put it right in that batter before you let it rise. They'll be tremendous. But if you're like me, and I know you are, you like a little sweet treat. So we're letting these cook. Come on over here. Let me show you what we were doing. Sugar and cinnamon, some of each, however much you like. We went heavy on the cinnamon, at least 2 teaspoons here. And I don't know, what have we got? Probably a 1/4 cup plus a couple tablespoons of sugar in here. Just mix all this up. When these come right out of the pan, what we're going to do is put them right in that bowl and sort of pat them down and let the cinnamon sugar adhere to the flatbreads. Then, take a look at this, a foil-lined pan. We're going to put the flatbreads right on here. We've got the oven preheated to 275. That's 275. Keep it low. Put the cooked flatbreads on here. We're going to tint them with foil. Put them in the oven. They'll steam inside. Terrific technique. I use that for my gluten-free naan bread. You can find that on the website too. Cook these. When I'm ready to dip them, we'll come back. Come have a look. I'm not quite finished. I want to leave some of my flatbreads savory. Don't do this. These are really hot. But I wanted to show you, I've been dipping. Look at this pan. Dip, dip, dip. Look at all these little flatbreads you're going to have. It's going to be great. So dip them in here. These are piping hot, but it's worth it. And we're going to put them right in the cinnamon sugar so the sugar melts a little and it gets all over the flatbread, and it's tremendous. You will love it. So remember, these are in the tent over here under the foil. I'm going to finish off my last 4 savory, and then we'll come back and put these in the oven, and I'll show you how they look. Here we go. Come on. Have a look. Last one. I got a few savory back here. These are all cinnamon sugar, looking tremendous. Now, I need to cover these up, and I'm going to put them right into the oven. And remember, we're only at 275. These are warm. Oven's kind of warm. Going to put these in 5 minutes, and they'll steam, and then we'll be ready to serve. 5 minutes, we're ready. Let's have a look. Oh gosh, they smell so good, y'all. Now, I'm going to give you a sneak peek. They look terrific. I'm going to get a plate, let these cool for just a sec, and we'll come back and plate and taste, my favorite part. Have a look. Look how tender and light these are. Look at that. Aren't they gorgeous? Can you believe it's grain-free, it's gluten-free? Look at these. I'm just going to stack these up. Keep our savory over here. Oh, wow. Now, you know what? I want this one for me, because it just looks too good. So let's give these a taste. Look, here, let me tear this open and let you see how gorgeous it is inside. Look at that. And remember, you can do these 2 ways. You can put anything in your savory. You could put a little cocoa powder and a little sugar to make a little chocolate on the outside of these. These are great. Try these. I know you'll love them.